Hello, career thought leaders. Good to see you here today. And we are going to be talking about how you can use your online presence to get in a new industry. And a lot of us are working with clients that are transitioning industries, whether they're getting laid off from federal government or from tech, and realizing that they're ready to make a move, hoping that perhaps a new industry might be more stable, or realizing that there may not be many opportunities in the industry that they're leaving. So how do we help them get into that new industry using digital tools? So some of you come here every Tuesday, Trend Tuesday Live. I'm Marie Zimenoff, CEO of Career Thought Leaders, and we do come here every Tuesday to give you the now, the new, and the next in careers. So drop a subscription in there, hit the bell and subscribe so that you get notified when we go live. If you're joining us on LinkedIn, you can hit that follow button for the Career Thought Leaders page, and that way you'll get notified when we go live there as well. So here's the challenge, and we've been talking about this for a while. We have recruiters in our community, which is always great because we get to hear from them. But this isn't rocket science. When you are hiring, you want to hire someone who's got the experience that you're looking for. And that isn't just role-based, it's also industry-based. So if I am hiring and one of our colleagues, hires people in the manufacturing and automotive, they're looking for people who have automotive industry experience. That's the first thing that they're looking for when they breeze through a group of resumes. They're looking for that industry experience. Now, that's a like, hey, I'm looking at resumes thing for a recruiter, but we also know that what's happening today is recruiters aren't using a lot of the applications that are coming in because they're not qualified, and it's hard to sift through all of them. So they're going out and they're doing proactive searches. They're using tools like Find Them, Seek Out, and yes, LinkedIn, but they're also using tools like community building so that they have a funnel of prospects for their jobs who are actually qualified for the jobs and who have maybe some industry experience. Now, what is just wonderful about the new digital world that we live in, and I guess it's not that new, but it really took a big step forward after COVID and we went all online, is that there are so many opportunities for your client to get engaged and become part of the new industry they want to be in before they even have that job. So we're going to talk about 3 ways that they can do that today, although not in the order that I'm going to say them right now, because there's a reason that I'm going to share the order that we want to go in. So go ahead and say hello, drop me a chat, let me know that you're joining us. And I'd love to hear how you are helping your clients use their online digital tools to get in the industries that they're interested in. Now, these are going to work for people transitioning out of any industry. And I see a lot of things, specific to those in federal, and that's great. But I don't necessarily care about where you're coming from. I care about where you're going, because that's the language we need to speak. Wherever you're coming from is really that language of your target industries that matter. And this is what you can use. Now, before we can do any kind of proactive job search, we have to know where we're headed. And the things I'm going to talk about today, the number one question you need to be able to answer is, who are your target companies? Who are the companies that you want to go and work for? When you have that knowledge, you can be proactive in your search. And that's what we're going to show you how to do. All right. Good to see you. Thanks, Nancy. Hello. Good to see you. Hi, Jane. Good to see you. Thanks for joining us. All right. So once we know the companies that you want to work for, and some people will say, 50 to 100. Some people will say only have 10. I like a middle of the road approach, and realizing that we're not going to do the steps I'm talking about for every single company. But if you have a group that you're working on right now, and then some that you're kind of developing or learning about, always adding to your list, that's a good place to be. I don't want it to be so huge it's overwhelming, and I don't want to be too small that it's limiting, which 10 feels a little limiting to me. However, you might just be focused on 10 right now. But with the tools we're going to talk about today, you can actually maybe broaden that a little bit and still be able to do the proactive pieces we're going to talk about. So the first thing on the list is content. We're going to circle back around to that. You can develop content that shows you are in the industry. This doesn't require you to, write a whole book or even write an article, but it does require you to look at things that are out there in that new industry, pay attention and respond. But that isn't where we want to start. The second thing that we're going to talk about today is how you can join some communities and be a part of communities that help you get seen, also help you develop the relationships that would be your referral sources. So we know that somewhere between 40 and 60% of new hires are referrals. This means that yes, the job might have been posted openly. I don't subscribe to the 80% of jobs aren't posted. That's a really high number that I don't believe is true. However, the real data behind that from like a 1980s HBR article was asking people how they got hired, not whether or not the job was posted. And it said that 80% of people said they got their job through networking. Now we know, based on newer studies, again, 40 to 60 are hired through referrals. So this all just comes down to one thing, that making relationships in the new industry is the best way to get hired in that new industry. And so how can we use online tools to do that? We're going to dive into that a little bit. Then the third thing that we're going to talk about is engaging and creating those relationships. So it's not enough just to join the community. We want to engage. We want to have conversations with people. And there's opportunity to have those conversations, even if you're not in a quote unquote community. Although we've got to be careful about this, because if you're trying to network in a place where nobody that you want to network with is, you're going to be frustrated. And that's what's happening to a lot of people in certain platforms and on LinkedIn. Because if you want to network with people like engineers, for instance, if you want to network with current engineers, engineering directors, those people are not on LinkedIn every day. In fact, the research shows they're there about once a month. So if you're trying to network with that type of person on LinkedIn, you're likely frustrated because they just aren't there. So how do we help you figure out where they are? And then how do we help you engage with them? And if they are on LinkedIn, how do we engage better there? We're going to cover all of that. I know it sounds like a lot. Okay, so content, community, and connection in terms of actually engaging with folks. That's where we're headed. Hi, Faith. Good to see you. Hi, Toby. It's good to see you. Excellent. Let me know as we go along if you have questions or you have ideas of what we're talking about. So here's the thing. Don't help your clients start with content. Don't start by trying to post on LinkedIn. Why? One, you won't get anything back. It'll be crickets. Two, that's the thing they're most nervous about. So don't do it. Three, you have no idea how to participate in the community yet when that's your launch point is, hey, I'm going to start creating content. This is the recipe for disaster. One of the things that someone said recently in a training I was in, that if you're creating content on LinkedIn really frequently and you never get any engagement, LinkedIn actually says, hey, I'm going to push that person down because they must be spam. So here's a few ways to stay away from that. One, don't start with content. We'll talk about where to start here in a second. Two, don't post more than once a day. If you post more than once a day, it just increases that opportunity for you to be pushed down because you're creating a lot of content that probably isn't getting a lot of engagement because they've already started pushing you down because you're posting more than once a day. So I know some of us like to share job ads. We like to share those things, and that's great. But you might create, and I see some of you doing this, where you've got like a weekly thing and you grab all the posts about jobs. That's actually more helpful because more people are likely to see it than when you share the job posting from the organization. Now, sharing every once in a while is a great way to build relationship. It's a great way to build credibility, but you can't do it that often, and you can't do it twice in a day or do it after you've already posted that day. It just diminishes the visibility, which doesn't help anyone, and it pushes down your post, which doesn't help you. So it's a lose-lose situation when you do that. So where do we start? We start with engagement, especially on LinkedIn. This will also help you see, is LinkedIn the place for this client? And I really need us to keep an open mind that LinkedIn might not be the only place or the best place for some of our clients. Is their audience there? Is their audience looking for people like them? Yes, recruiters are using it to search, so there's still an engagement opportunity there, even if there's not a ton of people that they want to engage with. But if they're in a networking event with 10 people, they just don't have the opportunities that they need to build the relationship, to engage on a regular basis. And so it's one place to be, and it's important. It's not the only place, and it may take a really long time. So this someone was asking today or yesterday in our Facebook group, do I help a job seeker get onto social media if they're afraid of it? Maybe, maybe not. Let's do the research. Here's what doing the research does for us. Is it not only gives us the direction of should I be here or not, but if the answer is yes, now our client has done the research and they really understand what's in it for them to do the engagement that we're talking about. The other thing is that there are a ton of digital tools that are not social media that provide our candidate an opportunity to join these communities. And this is why we changed we used to call our branding class social branding. And a few years ago, we changed it to digital branding because there are so many other ways to build visibility than just doing social media. And when you're talking about some of the new systems like Find Them and Seek Out, those are looking at the internet as a whole. They're not looking just at social. So it bumps up the opportunity for some of these things. We'll come back to that here in just a minute when we circle back to content. When you're talking about engagement, that likely is social media. And we want to just keep an open mind and do our research. Is it LinkedIn? Is it Facebook groups? I know a lot of people don't do Facebook, but they still do Facebook groups, right? Our Facebook group is brimming with activity on a regular basis from people that don't post at all on Facebook or probably engage in Facebook. They just go straight to their groups and engage right there. And that's true in the tech industry. Tech leaders tend to think of Facebook as a non-professional place. But I got to tell you, and you guys have heard this, that tech recruiters especially tell me all the time that Facebook groups are a goldmine for them, that they're hanging out in the group, there's conversation going on from the techies, and that's how they're hiring. They've got a community and a pipeline right there inside of Facebook. Probably also heard me tell the story of my husband who used to be sales, used to be in, what's the right word? Sales application engineer. And he would go into a Facebook group full of engine technicians who were talking in this Facebook group about problems with big natural gas engines. I don't know about you, but like technicians on a natural gas engine and Facebook do not seem to go together for me, but there you go. There's a Facebook group, very active, talking about the latest technologies on these engines and the challenges that they're having with them. So we've got to open up our minds and help our clients really search for what are the best places for you to build community in your network. You can see these two, especially the engagement and the community, go together. Once you're in the community, that's when the engagement starts. And again, you can do this on LinkedIn. You can do this in a Facebook group. You can do it on a Slack channel, a Discord channel. Doesn't matter the platform. Do it on TikTok. Doesn't matter the platform. It's the strategy that we're thinking about. And that strategy starts with your target companies, which is why it's so critical that people have those target companies first, because otherwise you're wandering around in the dark on LinkedIn or in Facebook or whatever, and you're frustrated. But when you have your target companies, you can search for the company. You can find the other people connecting on that company or commenting. You can find places that company is hanging out. You can also find places where industry associations are hanging out. Usually there's companies involved there. On LinkedIn, you can create, and we were just going through this in our membership meeting this morning, you can create a list of people from companies and see what they're posting on a regular basis. So I can do it from company, and that's great. I can engage with the company posts, but where the gold is people from the company that are posting that you can engage with. This gives you the opportunity to build relationships to engage in the conversations, to see what conversations are going on, to start getting that feel for, hey, maybe this is the kind of content that I want to post. But if you're in job search mode, I really don't need the content piece as much. I need the relationships, and the relationships come from the engagement. So if I am transitioning from federal government to, maybe I want to go into the health industry, right? And I'm just going to say health and wellness, whatever that might look like, not medical hospitals, but wellness products, coaching, that kind of field, big business, lots of opportunity, lots of different types of positions that those companies are hiring for, right? So I can find companies that are in that space. Then I can put those companies into a LinkedIn posts search. So I'm going to search by posts, not by people. And I'm going to see what is going on in that space. Are people posting? Are there threads and conversations that I'm interested in engaging with? Now I've got the opportunity to see what is there. Now in that space, Facebook groups are probably huge, and maybe even Instagram might be a place to find the target companies and see if there's some engagement on their posts or other influencers that I might engage with on their posts. Yeah. So Valerie, the way we ask the question here is key. I don't ask people what social media they're using for job search. I ask them what social media they use on a regular basis. And then I go beyond that. And I say, okay, let's look at Facebook groups for your industry. And I'm not trying to convince them to do it. I'm just seeing what's there. And there may not be anything there, and that's fine. There may be a lot there that they're not thinking about, and they can see if that's an opportunity for them. And remember, we're not using Facebook. We're using Facebook groups, which is kind of its own little thing. You don't have to post on Facebook. You do have to have a profile, but you don't have to have a ton of content in it to be able to engage in groups. They're separate. They're different. They're not your feed. You don't even have to look at your feed in Facebook. You don't even have to make any friends, right? You just go in there to go to your groups. And it doesn't make sense for you if groups aren't operating in your space. I want to help you research it. And this is especially true when people are transitioning industries, because again, networking is more important. They're not going to show up at the top of the list, no matter kind of what you do to their resume. You can't lie and say that they have industry experience they don't have. So even if we make that good, strong resume that focuses on results, they still don't have the industry experience. And so networking is going to be more important. Getting into the industry communities is going to be more important. And if there are industry communities on Facebook, why not? Because that's the whole point. If you want to transition industries, this is the whole point. How do we figure out where they are? I just want to do the research. I want to treat it like a research project. It is not about where the person is necessarily. It's just about the research at first. Where are the communities in your industry? And I can do that by researching online. Obviously, I can research on the platforms, and I can reach out to people in the industry, people in the professional associations, and ask, what other communities are you participating in? So that I can start to maybe even uncover some that aren't going to be findable in the World Wide Web, like your Slack channels and those types of things. I've played a little bit around with searching for them. Sometimes they're public, but a lot of times they're not. And we've got to start networking in the industry to find that out, which we might be able to do in a public group, even if we don't intend to stay there long term. Maybe Facebook's not our place, but hey, there is a Facebook group for my industry or my location or whatever. And I can get in there, see where else people are hanging out, and then maybe shift my focus once I learn of some places that might be a better fit for me personally. I've got to find some way to break in, and LinkedIn can definitely be that place to break in, where you start following folks from your companies, you start engaging with their posts, and then you ask them, it's a great networking question, what other places are they hanging out? Where else are they finding community in the industry? But it's all about keeping that open mind, seeing it as a research project, and finding the communities I can already plug into, because that's going to accelerate my search. especially when you're talking about the the industry transition. Yeah. So how do you search by industry in the groups? So I wouldn't recommend I wouldn't recommend LinkedIn groups. You can go there and see if anybody will respond. But LinkedIn, I don't know, they don't give you any notifications about groups. They don't make it easy. So most Facebook or most LinkedIn groups are dead. Most LinkedIn groups are dead. In Facebook, it's just a simple search in the search bar and then filtering by groups. And I recommend searching for location-based groups, as well as industry groups, as well as groups that may be related to some kind of company. So some companies will have alumni groups. HP has a big group on Facebook. You just got to do the search. And then, of course, you can ask people and network to find them. But it's not hard in Facebook. I don't know if that's the platform you were talking about, but you just go into the search bar, you type in an industry or a location, you hit enter, and then you filter by groups. Let me pull that up here really quick. And of course, it's probably not gonna it's probably not gonna work out the way I want it to, because it's always hard when you're doing it like this. But let's say that I want to search for women in technology. We're just going to start something easy. Women in technology, I hit that into the search bar. It pulls up groups right away and see all. I can go that route, or I can use the groups tab over here on the left. So over here on the left, or I can click this see all under the groups. What I love about Facebook's way of searching groups is that you can see right away how many people are in the group, um, how many posts are happening in the group. So I don't have to join something that isn't even a valid or busy group. So this first one, 8 posts a month isn't huge. There's a lot of people in there, might be an opportunity. Women in technology. So there's a lot of different groups here that we can explore, see if they're a good fit for us. Lots of opportunity there. Canadian, Jamaican. So I might filter in another word and see what might be a good fit. But I know that we get this thing of, oh, executives don't do that. Executives don't do that. Honey, executives just a person like the rest of us. They do all these things. They may just not think about it in terms of job search, because that's not where it fits in their brain. But once you start doing this search and they think about it, they're like, oh, yeah, because there are a lot of people doing these types of groups that open up the opportunities, and recruiters are there. Recruiters are engaging, recruiters are posting jobs, recruiters are there in these groups because they're easy, they're free, and Facebook groups especially tend to be really engaged. Now you can search in LinkedIn groups and see what's going on there. They're, like I said, they just don't tend to be as active because of the way that LinkedIn has them set up. You don't get notified when people post as much. They tried to bring it back and it was just kind of too late. And because of the monthly active user number in LinkedIn. So the monthly daily user of Facebook is in the billions, right? I don't remember the exact number. I think it might be 1.1 billion. The active monthly user on LinkedIn is 330 million. So there are more than triple the amount of people on Facebook every single day than there are on LinkedIn once a month. That's the challenge, is when you're talking about community, you're talking about conversations, you're talking about, getting things to happen. When people are only there once a month on LinkedIn, it is really hard to get that going. Now, you and I, as career services providers, we're there every day, and we think, oh, recruiters are there every day. That might be true, but remember, recruiters do not place as many clients because they're not doing the referrals that we were just talking about. 40 to 60% hired based on referral. That recruiter is not your referral source. The other engineer is your referral source. The other marketing person is your referral source. And so if those people aren't on LinkedIn, you're not getting the networking piece. You're building visibility to recruiters who may or may not, be placing a large percentage of the positions, but you're not building community with the people who could be your referral resources. I recommend a both and approach. Usually tell people to pick two places that they want to build community. Now, when we're talking about small business owners, there's a lot of other things that factor in, like newsletters and many other ways that we can be digitally connected. When we're talking about a job seeker, it probably is social media, Slack channels, professional association type things where you're looking for those communities, maybe even a meetup group. Obviously, there's in-person things we want to help them find as well. Those are the places where we want them to find that community that's already engaged that they can plug into. LinkedIn is good for the visibility, for the recruiter, for the search, but not for the networking and the community as much. So they need both. Now, the good part is they should feed each other. So if you're engaging with people on LinkedIn, you can start asking them what other communities are those people participating in, and you get introductions to other places you might try. And then the conversations that you see happening in the community are going to spur ideas and thoughts and things you might want to talk about on LinkedIn. You never want to share something that's happening in a private community on LinkedIn with any kind of specificity, but you will get ideas of the type of questions and content and things that are interesting to other people in the industry so that you could translate those into content. This is why engagement and community come first, and then we worry about posting content. Now, my hope is with a job seeker that we never really have to worry about posting content for their job search. I still might want them to think about it for their long-term thought leadership and career growth, but it's not likely to lead to a job. Your content creation isn't likely to lead to a job. It could, it boosts your search results, all of those kind of passive things that not bad. But what's going to lead more directly to a job is the active connection that happens when you join communities and you engage in conversation. So that's where I want to start with people. And you can do it on LinkedIn. Just want to search by posts, not by people, using those target companies. And I've got a whole video on that. I'll post it since we're running out of time here. But I've got a whole video on how to search by posts so that you can find people who are actually active on LinkedIn. And then you can search other places like Facebook, Slack channels. I'm sure there's some other things I'm forgetting, but you're looking for Blue Sky, right? Or Twitter, depending on person's in industry and who's active where. But it's all about those relationships. So if you are interested in helping clients put together this kind of plan for their digital branding, also for their building of community, that's what we do in our Certified Digital Branding Strategist class. We do it for you, which most people love, right? It's transformational for the entrepreneur, for even the university professional. You do it, and then you've got a plan that you can execute with clients. We do talk about content creation, but again, building authority and building influence today is less about content. Everybody's an expert. Everybody can ask ChatGPT to write a listicle of 10 things to do X. It's more about the engagement and the communities that you build, because those people know they need to pay attention to your content because you're engaging in those and industry relevant conversations on a regular basis. And that's what helps our clients transition industries, insert themselves into the industry conversations. So help them start getting engaged in the conversation. Help them find those communities where they can become a part of the industry before they even apply. And then help them start thinking about content they might create that demonstrates their knowledge of and credibility in that new industry. But it's really the relationships that they build and the champions that they create for themselves that are going to help them make that industry transition. Thank you, everyone. Go ahead and hit the subscribe if you haven't yet, or hit the follow if you're on LinkedIn. And we will see you next Tuesday for Trend Tuesday Live.